Bungie has doubled down on their ban wave of the admins of the macro Discord, and I've also conducted an interview with one of those banned individuals, and we're going to jump into all of the spicy details in just a moment. First things first, let's look at this additional statement that the Destiny 2 team has posted. Now, the reason why they're adding this on top of everything that was added before is because they've received so much backlash, because the narrative has been drawn that several mods from this Discord were banned directly due to the fact that they developed macros so that people could use these for exotic class item farming. Now, Bungie stands by the fact that that was not the reason why they were all banned, and they're going to go into that right here. This is where things get tricky from a security standpoint. They're responding to input macro farming policies and bans. On the community side of life, we can't share the exact details on the terms of service breaking actions, as we don't want to specifically teach bad actors what can be detected / give them goals on what to work around. So they don't want to be very specific in exactly what tools they used in order to decipher why they should ban these 6 individuals. And we'll get more into exactly why these 6 individuals were banned, at least as much as we can get into. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of evidence here because Bungie isn't presenting some evidence saying, here, this is why they got banned. And so instead, the community is left to just draw conclusions. Now, this post obviously has negative 67 downvotes on Reddit right now, so a lot of people disagree with it. We'll continue now. Bungie says they've double and triple checked with their security team on the actions that many are worried about. They were issued on Friday, and some infractions leading to action had taken place over the course of a few months. So they were saying that even though the ban went live right around the same time that they just decided to announce all the changes, the exotic class item attunement, the two did not necessarily have a correlation to each other. It was just, it's just bad timing, I guess, by Bungie, right? The next part reads, sometimes restrictions and bans don't happen the moment something is detected. Timing isn't always felt to be perfect and leads to quite a bit of FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt from innocent players. Ultimately, if you aren't looking to cheat or manipulate the game for purposes that break our rules, you're in the clear. In the case of using macros, we've issued the statement above, amended our policy, and will be issuing restrictions before bans take place for future infractions. And that's the entirety of the statement. That's the last thing that Bungie is going to talk about in regards to this issue. Now, obviously, those 6 individuals that were banned, obviously it's really unfortunate. I was able to talk with them, but I'm going to leave their names anonymous for this purpose because I didn't want to record, and they didn't want me to record and put their name on blast. Kind of just want to get to what happened from their perspective. Obviously, we're not going to get to interview, a Bungie dev or anything like that, or a Bungie community manager in regards to that, because they're trying to keep it, professional for legal purposes. But from their perspective, they are hard pressed and convinced that they were banned entirely for developing these macros. And when you look inside their Discord, you can see that there's some macros. They try to keep it relatively ethical. So I'm going to explain it as simple as I possibly can, but basically there's a lot of different macros in the game for various different activities, and there's some of these macros that push the lines of different ethical boundaries, and some of these boundaries are ones that manipulate PvP inside the game, or even Gambit, for example, so you can load into them and you can AFK and ruin other people's experiences. And there's probably various other macros that can ruin other PvP experiences as well. So they try to, at least according to this individual, keep a good ethical standard within their Discord. I imagine some of those boundaries may have been broken, or at least by Bungie standards, and so perhaps that's why they decided to ban them. The part that's very interesting here is that there are more than just 6 admins in this Discord, so it was a very particular group of people that were banned, and so I think that Bungie, clearly it was targeted to ban these individuals and probably had good reasons according to their standards and according to them breaking terms of service. And the timing does seem like it's really terrible. I mean, the timing is the reason why everyone is so angry right now. Everyone's saying, Bungie, seriously, you banned the admins of the macro Discord just because you're angry at them developing these macros. I don't know that that's entirely the story. It's hard to find the evidence to say otherwise, because you would have to look through everything that's been presented in this macro Discord. But let's just say, I think that there's a decent chance that Bungie did this because they were kind of pushing those ethical boundaries. And we can see this escalation of macros throughout time. Obviously, we've seen macros that were just used for very simple things, and they escalate further and further and further to where they can do crazier and crazier things. And if you look at some of the most recent ones, the ones that people were using for exotic class items, these are definitely some crazy macros. And I'm not entirely sure about the logistics on the back end, how all of that works. I am truly a blueberry when it comes to understanding, all of the writing the scripts and code and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on with all of that. But from my understanding is that there is some sentiment put out there that perhaps they were using some type of cheats or cheat codes to write these macros. Again, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. Bungie's not presenting this evidence. They don't do that, but that is kind of the opinion that the majority of the community has come to. Now, I'll leave it to you to decide what you want to believe in this situation. Obviously, these people who run this macro server are actually doing a service to the community. They're not charging people for this. It's free to use these macros if you're using them for exotic class items, if you're using them for XP farming, whatever it is. They kind of just do a service. The service does actually help a lot of people with accessibility issues in the game, so it's not directly like all bad from the macro standpoint. I know a lot of people dislike macros, especially people that aren't able to use them. Like console players, obviously not going to like them very much, and that's perfectly fine, especially because it kind of ruins some of the fun of Destiny 2 when certain individuals can just farm materials all night long or farm exotic class items all night long, while others of us have to play the game legitimately. But that's where it kind of stands with this issue. So Bungie finally made their final statement, and I want to know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think that Bungie actually targeted these individuals, saying, you guys developed this macro that we don't like, so we're banning you, which has a lot of holes in it because there's other people that developed macros as well, but that could very well be the case, I suppose? Or do you think that these guys kind of pushed the boundary a little bit too far and pushed into those unethical macro territory and got banned due to that? Now, obviously, Bungie's terms of service has changed now, so all of those macros would need to be different, but you can't ban people for the terms of service change, right? And I think that's the real key here that Bungie's trying to say with their issued statement here, which is that they have double and triple checked and they're very thorough in this process, and that all of these individuals did have multiple infractions of terms of service prior to these bans. The timing was just really bad from them. And so I think that's kind of what they're getting at. I hear like Bungie's kind of apologizing, saying, we know what it looks like, all right, everybody. It looks like we just banned the macro admins and because we don't like them, but that's definitely not the case. Obviously, that would get Bungie in a ton of legal trouble. I mean, potentially, I don't even know what the results of that could be. That would be catastrophic PR for them, right? And I think that considering they have double and triple checked it, I'm kind of inclined to believe that's not what happened. I would like to think that's not what happened. After speaking with one of the people that was banned, they didn't necessarily seem like a malicious type of person, like they were doing that type of thing. However, it would also be said that some of their macros could be used in unethical ways, like they could be used in Gambit, but they tried to prevent people from doing that. So there's kind of this dilemma here where you develop these macros and what the community takes them and does with them, you never know. They could be using them in certain ways that ruin the experience in Destiny 2 and PvP and stuff, but that's not entirely the macro developer's fault necessarily. And so it's kind of a weird area to be at, but it seems like Bungie has their eyes and their hands deep inside this macro Discord, and they're paying attention to everything that's happening, and they particularly decided to ban these 6 individuals. So that's what I'm inclined to believe at this point in time, unless we get further evidence as we go forward. But that's where we're at right now. I don't think we're going to see anything more to this. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You're more than welcome to sound off. And again, none of this is meant to throw any shade or hate towards those that developed those macros in that server. A lot of them, by the community standards, a lot of people tend to really like them because what they did was a service for the community. They said, here, we're having problems getting exotic class items. We're going to make this macro for you, and a lot of people benefited from that and enjoyed it, and they gave it all away to everyone for free. So it's like, you can't necessarily hate that in some ways, but it's kind of a tough topic to talk about. But that's why I wanted to bring you the news story and share everything that has happened over the last few days. And this is the finality of it. So that's a wrap on this one. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.